The Choice, Chapter 1. Our story begins in olden times. In the almanac of a reconstructed nation, the year is 1870. A civil war is over, the United States remains united, and its citizens are getting back to business. We begin in the industrial town of Waterbury, Connecticut, inside the lobby of its largest bank, the Waterbury National Bank. The tellers are busy transacting credits and debits while their clients stand in neat little lines. Workers waiting to withdraw their savings, shopkeepers cashing in their monthly accounts, and now, one very special customer. A bear of a man who resembles a full pint of beer with the froth on top, strides through the front doors and over to the third window, staffed by a young teenage cashier and our main character. "Good day, sir. How may I be of assistance?" "I'm here to make a withdrawal." "Certainly. Which account?" "Terry. Andrew Terry, of Terryville, Connecticut." "And how much will you be withdrawing today, Mr. Terry?" "All of it." "Oh. Will that be a problem?" Of course not, Mr. Terry. Please, stand by one moment." The young cashier quickly calls over his manager, who recognizes his client and rushes over. "Mr. Terry, what a pleasure to see you again. How are things? I'm always happy to help one of our bank's largest depositors. My cashier tells me you'd like to withdraw a large sum from your account." "Not large, all of it." "Oh, my, yes, of course." The manager steps away from the window, very anxious. He knows that the bank doesn't have enough cash on hand to cover Mr. Terry's withdrawal. If he denies one of the bank's best customers access to his money, the bank's reputation will be in crisis, with serious consequences. There is no good solution here. Or is there? The young cashier is a clever one. He pulls his manager aside, and Andrew Terry watches as the young man whispers something to his manager. It's workable, sir. We can consolidate the Scoville accounts, call in some loans, defer this month's dividend payments." "Okay, yes, son, you're right. But you're sure of it?" "I'm sure of it." "Apologies for the delay, Mr. Terry. I'm happy to report that we'll have your money ready for you tomorrow afternoon." "Outstanding. I'll send my agent tomorrow to come and collect it." "We'll be expecting him, Mr. Terry. It's a pleasure to serve you." The manager steps away, but Mr. Terry lingers at the window of the young cashier for an extra moment. "Son, that was impressive the way you handled your manager and my money. Listen, I'm accustomed to the habit of seizing an opportunity when I see it. There's a reason I'm cashing out today. I'm headed out to Kansas to open a new banking venture of my own. The business plan is settled, but the list of employees is presently vacant. I'll need some helping hands for the enterprise, someone energetic and clever, who knows how to keep money in the right accounts and do so clean. Someone like what I just saw in you. So here's a proposition, son. A job offer. Consider joining me in my endeavor to Kansas. I'll make you chief cashier of my new bank. No need to answer me now. Go home tonight and sleep on it. When my agent comes tomorrow to collect my money, relay your decision and I'll arrange transportation for you." "Oh, wow, sir, that's very kind. I've never before received a prospect of that magnitude. I will certainly think through and pray on it tonight." "Outstanding. Give it hard consideration, and maybe one day I'll see you on that train out west, Mr. What do you call yourself, son?" "Treadway, sir. I'm Charles Treadway." That very evening, Charles shares his exciting offer with his family. It's a quick decision. "Mama and Papa, I have news. I've decided..." "Hold it right there, son. Your job at the bank is a practical good, the kind that should never be given up for the prospect of some grand adventure. Your father is right, Charles. How could I ever bear to send you so far away from the family with a stranger we barely know? Remember, son, when I called in a favor to get you your first job at the bank at the clock factory? We both know you ain't no mechanic, but lucky for us, God blessed you with the smarts for bookkeeping. And it's those talents that got you work at the post office, and now this golden opportunity to be a cashier at the largest bank in Waterbury. You gonna give all that up?" "No, sir, you're right." And so it is settled. Charles is going to stay where he belongs and work his way up the right way. No shortcuts. Opportunities everywhere for those who can keep their heads down and stick to the plan. Quick riches in a frontier town are a risky bet, and Charles is not a betting man. He's a bookkeeper, a planner. But it just so happens that something quite unexpected, something that Charles did not plan for, occurs. The next morning, Charles gets in very early to the bank. He opens the books and sends couriers to collect the money for Mr. Terry's big withdrawal. Before noon, everything is ready. Cash and receipts are secured in a small box, and Charles anxiously awaits the arrival of Mr. Terry's agent. He's also extra nervous because he doesn't know quite how to turn down Mr. Terry's offer. What kind of words do you use? Find an excuse? Just say no? Charles is flummoxed. It's in this busy moment that a pretty young teenage girl approaches Charles' cashier counter. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Treadway?" "I'm sorry, miss, but I'm occupied. Waiting on someone quite important right now. Would you mind waiting over there?" "Charles, are you Charles Treadway?" "Yes, that's me. How did you know?" "Because you're the only cashier without gray hair in this whole stuffy bank." "Quite funny, miss. Please, I think my colleague at the far window is open for you. As I said, I'm occupied." "Let me guess, Mr. Treadway. You're waiting for an agent of Andrew Terry to come pick up a very large withdrawal?" Yes, I am." "Well, that would be me. I'm his daughter, Margaret Terry. And this is for you. Inside this envelope, you'll find the signed papers to close out his account. And here's my knapsack for the money. Fill her up, please." Certainly, miss. Let me just check with my manager first." "Absolutely." Charles never expected Mr. Terry's agent to arrive in the form of a youngster, and a cute one at that. He comes back blushing and with his manager in tow. "Good day, Miss Terry. I'm the manager here. May I ask your age?" "I'm 14 years old." "Well, then you'll need an escort for your own safety. We can't have you walking home alone with that kind of money in your sack. There are miscreants on the roads out there. I'll make arrangements with the local constable to go with you." "Oh, that's not necessary. As my father says, the best camouflage to fool the thieves and thugs is the nonchalance of youth. The last place a highway robber will be looking for a bag of cash is under the arm of a girl like me. So if you please..." "Well, you heard the little lady. Charles, please do the necessary." "Right, sir. Then, miss, sign here to acknowledge the receipt of the monies on behalf of Mr. Terry." "There you go. Agent Margaret Terry right there on the receipt line. It's been a pleasure meeting and doing business with you, Mr. Treadway." "Thank you, Miss Terry. And pleased to meet you as well. So, you gonna miss your father while he's out living in Kansas?" "Oh, not at all. You don't think my papa would go all the way out to Kansas without taking his only daughter? Me and my mama will be joining him. And from what I hear, you're invited too." Well, he was very kind to offer, your father. But this town, Waterbury's my home, and where my responsibilities lie. Please thank him for the consideration, though." "I will, Mr. Charles. However, I know you thought about it once, but don't forget to think about it twice. It'll be quite the adventure." After leaving these whispered words echoing in Charles's ears, Margaret collects her sack and saunters towards the exit door. But she appears to forget a small envelope at the cashier's window. "Miss Margaret, you forgot this." "Oh, I didn't forget it. That's for you." "I'm sorry, miss. We can't accept tips here. It's against the cashier rulebook." "It's no tip, Charles. It's your ticket. I'll see you on the train, month after next, as soon as the ice melts." And out she goes, leaving Charles enraptured by the most powerful forces in the universe, right there in his hands. For every young soul, there could be no greater magnetism, no greater gravitational pull than a ticket to an adventure with the prospect of exponential gain, but with an important motivator, a new and pretty companion. A pursuit of the gold with an attractive new friend along for the ride. How could Charles resist these forces? Well, he simply can't. And against the advisements of his family, he decides to take the ticket. So arrangements are made, preparations are prepped, and a season of change arrives. The trees grow the buds of springtime leaves, and a young bank cashier packs his bags and dreams of adventure. Here we are now, with Charles Treadway, sitting on a long bench inside the Waterbury train station, with a duffel bag and a trunk at his feet and a hat in his hand, while the other one fiddles with a very important good luck charm. It's a golden pocket watch bearing the inscription C.S. Treadway, from his father, January 24th, 1869. Someone else is sitting on the bench across from Charles and notices his pocket watch. Our stranger is just as young as Charles, but with the air of confidence, the aura of a man on a mission, not an invited passenger like Charles, but in command, like a captain at sea. "Excuse me, friend, would you have the time?" "Surely, 7:30. "Thank you. So where are you headed?" "New York." "With all that luggage? You moving down there?" "No, actually, we're transiting New York. Final destination is out west, Kansas." "Wow, that's a far one. Well, me too. I'm moving to a new place, to Bristol. I'm supposed to wait here for my pickup, but it seems they're a bit late. In any case, I'm Joel Case, inventor of the Joel Case water wheel turbine." "A water wheel turbine? I don't believe I've ever seen one." "Well, that's because I haven't built one yet. I got the patent, though. Imagine a mechanical wheel similar to the water wheels they put in a river to power all the machines in a factory next to it. But my wheel is much more powerful and faster. It's not just a wheel, hell, it's a turbine. It has these little buckets inside to catch the water extra efficiently and double the power output. You can run 10 machines in a factory with just one of my wheels. I got an investor in Bristol, a man by the name of John Sessions, who promises to lend me a workshop so I can start building them." "Sounds profitable, Joel." "That's the hope. How about you? What's for sale out in Kansas?" "We are headed to find out. I'm accompanying a banker to start a new bank in Kansas, and here he is right now." Andrew Terry arrives at the portico of the train station atop a horse cart full of luggage. Porters scurry to assist him while he escorts his wife and daughter Margaret over to the ticket window. Charles bids farewell to his new acquaintance, Joel, and joins his new adopted family, the Terrys. "There he is, Mr. Charles Treadway. So happy you could join us, son." Margaret is also excited to see her new companion. "Mr. Charles Treadway, huh? Well, that's too long a name. I'll have to call you Charlie now, since we're traveling partners, if that's all right. You ready for an adventure?" "Margaret, darling, let's not suppose this is a vacation. Charles is here for business, and there's no time to waste. Let's get aboard." So begins the adventure, the first grand adventure of Charles Treadway's life. But the beginning of this grand adventure is quite boring, actually. It takes weeks to travel from Connecticut to Kansas, all of it inside the cramped quarters of a train car. Margaret rides in a private cabin with her mother, while Charles and Mr. Terry sit together in first class. And it's here, in prolonged and restricted proximity, where Charles learns something very important. He learns about his new boss and the invisible forces of economic destiny taking hold of Andrew Terry at this special moment in time. Powerful spasms of new marketplaces and transformative opportunities, pulling people from all over the eastern coasts into one collective mass migration westward. Andrew Terry grew up as the son of the famous second-generation clockmaker Eli Terry Jr., a wildly successful entrepreneur who established factories of mass production to make clocks, locks, and other inventive mechanical products. As an heir to the Terry empire, one might expect Andrew to play it safe and stay in Terryville to run his family's well-secured enterprises. But one event changed all that. A great civil war that shattered the United States. Andrew served in the Union Army, on the front lines, in General Burnside's expedition to North Carolina, in the capture of Roanoke Island, and in the Battle of New Bern. He witnessed, he felt the devastations of war. Blood and bombs, scorching the green earth. Friends and brothers lost and never to return. Yet the same forces that marched Andrew from battlefield to battlefield. He looked upon the destroyed townships and territories with the eyes of an entrepreneur. He saw how much there was to rebuild after all the destruction, and how he could be a part of knitting his country back together through shared enterprise, through handshakes and contracts instead of hand-to-hand combat. Andrew imagined transformative opportunities for those who could start a business and run it well, especially men who already knew the mechanics of success. Men like Andrew. Success out west at this moment in time is a powerful kind of success. It is a full spectrum success, bringing prosperity and money, but also politics, glory, and fame. Things that were already spoken for in the settled and stuffy business networks of the East Coast of Connecticut. For an experienced businessman like Andrew Terry, the West meant not only opportunity, but highly leveraged opportunity. But for a young upstart like Charles, the value proposition was different. The frontier markets of the West offered a notion best expressed by the famous newspaperman Horace Greeley, who proclaimed that lads like Charles must go west and grow up with the country. Greeley once wrote a letter with inspiring advice. Dear lad, so many people ask me what they shall do. So few tell me what they can do. Yet this is the pivot wherein all must turn. I believe that each of us who has his place to make should go where men are wanted, and where employment is not bestowed as alms. Of course, I say to all who are in want of work, go west! Greeley's words echo in the ears of lads all over the eastern coasts. They beckon to young men like Charles. It is the clarion call of a geographic gold rush, the offer of instant wealth that required no degrees or credentials, only grit and gumption. If Charles stayed at the Waterbury Bank, he could be a manager in 5 or maybe 10 years. But now Charles is on a train headed west, helping Mr. Terry start a new bank in a novel place. In a year or two, Charles could be a manager of that bank, or more. Hell, he could even start his own bank. In Waterbury, the destiny of a young man like Charles is chained to the normal curve of time. But in the West, his destiny is exponential and accelerated. It does not bend to the normal rules of time. Rather, it bends time. That, my friends, is the brochure. That is the dream. But that's not what happened for Charles. Here we are in the western township of Lawrence, Kansas. The first stop upon arrival is not the town hall, but the Plymouth Congregational Church. It is under this church's arched Gothic rooftop that newcomers like Andrew Terry come to pray and pay homage, but also to do something else: make connections, network. The Terrys face the same difficulties of any new arrival, being unknown and untrusted. The best way to achieve quick social standing is to have a church vouch for your trustworthiness, as there is greater trust in a church pew than in a boardroom. And so Andrew Terry chose Lawrence first and foremost because of his affiliation with its congregational church, his entry ticket into the established networks of the town's innermost civic and social circles. So in Kansas they start, and they start small. Charles works and sleeps in a rented office, separate from the Terry family. But every Sunday he joins them for church and dinner, and after the women retreat to their private quarters, he and Mr. Terry finish their business affairs, square away the books, and discuss their strategies for the next week. The climate for a new business in Lawrence, as Charles discovers, is much ruder than the well-mannered business environment of Yankee, Connecticut, where he's from. Western men are more likely to break their word and less likely to deliver on their promises. Every handshake hides crossed fingers. Charles goes to sleep every night thinking he closed a deal, only to find upon waking up that his prospective clients already moved on to another town, to a better deal and a new frontier. In the midst of this struggle, Charles finds a knock on his door. Charlie, come on. Hey, Maggie. Good morning. Come where? Out. I'm going out, and my father says you're coming with me. Now, Charles is standing in the middle of a vast and empty field of grass, all of it the color of gold, and swaying back and forth, dancing slow in a soft wind. Margaret is behind him, sitting on a colorful blanket with a picnic basket at her side. What are we doing all the way out here, Maggie? Like my father said, Charlie, you need to take a break from the business. Clear your head with some fresh scenery. I saw this place and thought it'd be perfect. And also, I like picnics, and you ain't never been on one. I should be working right now, Maggie, helping your father. You and Papa, you'll be doing your best for many months, but now, let's face it, Charles, ain't nothing you two planted have taken root in the soil of this town. I suppose, Maggie. I didn't know it'd be so different, the people here. Everyone is just moving through, chasing something further west, over the next horizon. I'm rather certain there are more pack mules than people in this town. This was our best shot, Maggie. A university town, a transportation hub with a river and a railroad and the Oregon Trail, a gateway to the west for capital investment. The kind of place a new bank like ours should thrive. So what's the problem then, Charlie? Is it any one thing, Maggie? Come on, you've seen what we're up against. Our clients all play politics. They want to know if we're Free State abolitionists or Confederate veterans before they bank with us, of which you cannot stay neutral, of course, so you're guaranteed to lose half your prospective clients right there. The competing banks hire gunslingers to harass the money shipments, last of which is the immigrants, who beg us for credit with nothing but pegs and nails as collateral. How can any bank stake a profit in that kind of market? Profit, Charlie, is not why we are here. Profit is not why my mother suffered all this gutter sickness and hardship. We had a very profitable and comfortable life back in Terryville. So why are we here, Maggie? You know, Charlie, my father will never say it out loud, but the real reason why he took us all the way out here is standing right in front of you, right there, in front of your eyes. All I see is a field of grass, Maggie, and an empty horizon beyond that. Exactly, Charlie. That's what my papa wanted, what he needed, what was driving him out of Terryville. Since the revival brought all of Terryville back into the church, Papa especially turned himself toward the spiritual affairs of the soul, to the point where he would spend long nights making theological explorations with the local ministers. And then I think some notion occurred to him one day, an idea that he could not just put back inside of him once it had expressed itself. I suppose it's something that comes upon a person when death comes to their doorstep. And my father must have been hit harder than most. He lost his father when he was just a boy, then the war, and then my mother lost a child who died young before I was born. I think it occurred to him that something was out of order, because one day I hear him telling my mother that his life is not following the natural state of things, that a kind of deadly stagnation has taken hold. He says, just like swamp water, which turns dark from sitting in one place, even the mighty Terry family will stagnate and die, unless we can move rightly and freely again, like the flowing water of a river, pure and regenerative because it moves. It moves. Being a Terry in Terryville had become like a curse for him. He became quite convinced there was only one thing he simply must do, and that was to depart from wherever he felt most at home and try his hand at a new thing in a foreign place, and that doing so might vanquish the heaviness he carried every day, and in some way turn back the clock to a happier time. Charlie, I've seen the face of my father on this journey, and it is a lighter and brighter, joyful expression. But I've talked too much now. You are dear to us, Charlie. I hope maybe you can understand it a bit. I can understand it, Maggie. I understand. Wonderful. So let's leave behind all this troubled talk, shall we? Charles catches a raindrop in his palm. A thunderclap echoes in the distance. And of course, now the weather changes. Did you pack a cover too, Maggie? Well, lucky boy, you don't have to suffer through my picnic now. Help me fold up the blanket and let's hustle back to our wagon at the trailhead. Wait, Maggie, have you seen my pocket watch? No. Shouldn't a pocket watch be in your pocket? It's not here. Oh no, it's lost. Please, help me look around. You probably left it in your room. Quick, let's make for the wagon. We'll come back later. No, I can't leave it. You go. I'll stay and look. Nonsense. I'll help you, Charlie. Oh, here comes the rain. Charlie, did you find it? Not yet. Here, come close. We can use our blanket to cover us together. You search to the right side, and I'll look to the left. Oh dear, Charlie, you look like you're almost in tears over a simple lost watch. I'm sorry, Maggie. Men don't cry, we shouldn't. But it's from my father, you know? It was a special gift. The thought of losing it... I know, Charlie. Don't worry. We'll find it. I mean, how in heavens will our minister ever know when to call Mass without Charles Treadway's pocket watch? Everyone at church knows you keep the most accurate time of all the clocks in town. Yes, and that's thanks to my father, too. He worked in a clock factory and made me his apprentice timekeeper. Taught me how to set my pocket watch to a tower clock, to wind it differently depending on the season. He knew everything, Maggie, except for the secrets of timekeeping that only the clockmaker wizards, the Terrys of Terryville, know about. Oh, nonsense, Charlie. We Terrys ain't no wizards. Come on, Maggie. You must have been told the folklore tales of Eli Terry and his secret clock. All of them fibs and riddles. But I do know, Charlie, where to find the greatest clock Eli Terry ever made. Oh yeah? Where is it? Locked in a vault? Gifted to the King of England? Nope. It's right here. That's your hand, Maggie. You're just holding up your hand. And if there was any sun today, Charlie, my arm would cast a shadow, and from that shadow and the movement of the sun, you could ascertain the time of day. I present to you Eli Terry's greatest clock, right here under your nose. Me, his great-granddaughter, holding up my hand and casting a shadow. Well, quite a clock we have here. The Margaret Terry sundial. Except it's broke. You can't cast a shadow with rain clouds. Well, Charlie, even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day. And so it happens, on a rainy day in the middle of an endless field, when Charles Treadway loses his lucky pocket watch, only to find another, more precious clock. The courtship between Charles and Margaret begins as the most ordinary of things, sharing the dinner table every night, running errands to the market, singing hymns together in the church pew every Sunday. Tiny conversations and momentary shared experiences that become, for the two of them, extraordinary escapes. Charles is shy and risk-adverse. Margaret is fearless. Freed from the aristocratic trappings of conservative Yankee traditions, she is liberated in this wild Western world. Their ordinary companionship transforms into the deepest of connections. Charles and Margaret fall in love. Margaret's parents consent, and soon they are married under the beautiful red brick Plymouth Congregational Church in the free state of Kansas. Andrew Terry and his new son-in-law, Charles Treadway, struggled to plant the seeds of success in the fields of Lawrence. But back in Bristol, a different young entrepreneur is already harvesting the fruits of his new business. Joel Case, the young inventor that Charles crossed paths with at the Waterbury train station, is quickly becoming a phenomenon in the manufacturing circles of Bristol. Case opens his first factory under the wing of his primary investor, John Sessions, himself an entrepreneur. Sessions was a carpenter who ran a wood-turning shop that supported the clock industry, until one day his brothers showed up at his door sitting atop an ox cart full of trunks and metal hardware from their shop in Southington. The three brothers combined their businesses, and the resulting miniature conglomerate made John Sessions Bristol's newest industrial titan. Joel's new invention offers the ideal investment for Sessions. Bristol is, first and foremost, a clockmaking town. The first clock shops required only human labor, 2 hands and a foot pedal. Bristol's new and massive clock factories require more power than 100 hands and feet can provide, and there's no better source of it than water. The always rambling, sometimes raging Pequabic River is tapped by nearly every clock shop as their primary source of power. River water is diverted in tubes and troughs into the buckets of massive water wheels, which capture and transfer its continuous energy into a spiderweb of belts and turning wheels that are installed in the ceilings and floors of every clock factory to animate the dozens of machines along their assembly lines. It is a power system that is quite inefficient, outdated, ready for change, for disruption. Enter now Joel Case and his water wheel. Except it's not just a wheel. Joel designs a water turbine. It's new, it's powerful, but more than anything else, it's experimental. Here we are now, following John Sessions through the front door of his factory, the one he built for Joel Case, and our first look at Joel's invention. So what do we have here, Mr. Case? Show me your new machine. What we have here, Mr. Sessions, is an improved water wheel, a water turbine, with a particular arrangement of chutes and gates to better regulate the collection and release of water through these inlets here, and thereby control the speed of its rotation and the torque it produces. And in plain speak, this baby gets you twice, maybe 3 times the power of a regular water wheel. Outstanding. Truly outstanding, Joel. When can we start production? Well, sir, actually, this is just the first prototype. We can improve its performance with a few modifications. But to accomplish them, we must acquire 2 more fabrication machines for the shop. Joel, I already invested a great sum in these machines on the factory floor here. And you're telling me we need more? Yes, sir. As I said, the next version of the turbine will deliver even more power output, a better product, to put it quite simply. But Joel, don't we already have the patents in place to sell this wheel under the company name? Start production right now with the machines we got right here? Yes, but I promise you, Mr. Sessions, the next prototype will be rather impressive. Let me show you the designs. It's quite interesting, you see, what we can do to improve the power output if we change the decision is mine, Mr. Case, and it's made. Start production right away and get us some sales. Get this company on a solid financial footing. Then we can talk about reinvesting the profits on your experiments. But, sir, the matter is settled. I'll send an agent in the morning to plan the details and make some space on your factory floor for a lunch table. When workers get hungry, they best be fed right there next to their machines so they can get back right at it after the last bite. Save us time and speeds production. Yes, Mr. Sessions, I'll do that. Bristol's chief industry is clockmaking. But after multiple financial downturns, investors like John Sessions know that to survive, Bristol must become more than just a one-trick town. Creating companies like the Case Water Wheel Company will diversify his private equity portfolio and give him the upper hand if the clockmakers go bankrupt again. But Sessions is not the only player in this new game of diversification. 2 other prominent businessmen joined forces to establish the first local bank in the town's history, aptly named the Bristol Savings Bank. The bank is not some brilliant invention. Rather, it is a logical progression of supply and demand. The old banking behemoths of New York are focused on the customers of its rising metropolis, not the residents of some faraway factory town. The founders of the Bristol Savings Bank see an untapped market in their own backyard, a town teeming with inventors like Joel Case, who confer a nice return on investment, but also mechanics and laborers, foremen and retailers, teachers and housekeepers, a community full of enterprising souls who appreciate a safe place to keep their savings, and maybe one day, a line of credit to start a new small business of their own. These Bristolites are more than just residents. They are depositors. And so Bristol opens its first bank, and an inaugural deposit of $50 is made by Lucy Beckwith on the 4th of July. As the Bristol Savings Bank becomes a proven success, All the while, halfway across the country in Lawrence, Kansas, the banking enterprise steered by Andrew and Charles fails to attract any attention. Until one day, a special delivery arrives. 2 envelopes, one addressed to Mr. Andrew Terry and the other to Mr. Charles Treadway. Well, Charles, what do we have here? It's from Bristol, Connecticut. Who do you know in Bristol? No one by me, sir. Well, a few of us Terrys are in Bristol, so maybe it's from one of them. Let's see here. Look at this. It's the front page of a newspaper. The Bristol Press newspaper, with a headline that says, "The Bristol Savings Bank has achieved great success, with more than $100,000 in secure deposits." Oh, and there's something else in the envelope. A letter, and it says, "To the esteemed Mr. Andrew Terry, a proposal for your respected consideration." Oh. Well, look at this here. I'm being offered a hefty line of credit to reestablish my foundry business, but on the stipulation that I do so in Bristol. Signed by a gentleman the name of John H. Sessions, president of the Bristol National Bank. My heavens, here we are scrapping by in Lawrence when Bristol gets itself a newspaper, and not one, but 2 banks. Well, Charles, what do you think? I think, sir, I best open my letter and see what it says. Well, go on, son. Open it. It says, "To Mr. Charles S. Treadway, the Bristol National Bank extends you the honor of being offered the position of chief cashier of this esteemed institution, on the stipulation that you encourage one or more large depositors to contribute to the bank's initial reserves. Signed, with warm regards, John H. Sessions." So I must presume, Mr. Terry, that the delivery of these 2 letters at the same time, and with the further presumption that we would read them in each other's company, it seems that Mr. John Sessions is aware of our present difficulties and attempting to compel us into abandoning our current enterprise to support his new bank instead, with you as his first big depositor and me as cashier. He's trying to steal you away from me, Charles, and at the same time use my money and my expertise for his own profit. What kind of man is this John Sessions? It seems, sir, that he is a businessman. As his ego and anger subside, Andrew Terry sits back in his chair and considers the next obvious question. John Sessions is a businessman, a very blunt one, but a successful one as well. Bristol is thriving. Lawrence, and the rest of the western towns, for that matter, are displaced. Everything in the West is transitory because of the constant presence of the frontier right next door. There are no walls or edges to contain or constrain the explosive economic forces that drive entrepreneurs to Kansas, and once there, push them further onward. There is no center mass, because it is a fallacy to believe that every place in America is good for business. In fact, very few places are. But more deeply felt, Andrew yearns again for the spiritual hearth that burns in the small hills of Connecticut, for the smallness of purpose and homemade communal bonds that the vastness of the American West disperses, that maybe only villages in the woods, like the hamlet towns in rural Connecticut, can sustain. He wants this kind of life again for his daughter, for his son-in-law. He wants this for himself. So Andrew Terry makes his decision. He accepts the offer. And now the Terry family pack their bags again, headed east, backwards and homewards to Bristol. Bristol, the place where we now return, a snowy and colder Bristol in the mist of winter. Inventor Joel Case is walking through the snowdrift along the icy shores of Lake Cowpounce, dragging a small sled containing one of his water turbines. He's braving the elements to test the performance of his water wheel under cold weather conditions, using the snow melt and slush runoff from the streams around the lake. And it just so happens, around twilight, just as he's packing up his things to go home, he sees something moving. a shadow near the tree line. Then, a terrible, guttural scream. And now he sees it. Something terrifying, moving right towards him. Fearing for his life, Joel abandons his sled, sprints back to the trailhead, and races his wagon back to the safety of the town. He informs the authorities about what he saw, but they doubt him. "There's nothing to worry about, sir. You just had a hallucination. Quite a common experience for anyone outside all day, exerting themselves where snow and water reflect too much light into the eyes, giving way to seeing spots and shadows, just like you saw." While the authorities are dismissive, someone else is interested in Joel's story. The next day, Joel is called upon by a curious neighbor who asks if he can lead him back to the spot where Joel saw this mysterious and terrible thing. Joel welcomes the company, as he needs to go back anyway to retrieve his sled and water wheel. Soon enough, a wagon pulls up with Joel's new companion, and a few other friends with him too. There's a posse of 5 men, all bundled up in winter coats and caps, and each of them clutching long, slender poles wrapped in leather, the length and shape of which Joel perceives to be fishing rods. "Mr. Case, good morning. I hope you don't mind a few additions to our outing. Friends of mine who want to do some ice fishing." "No worries. Happy for the company." "Climb right up, Mr. Case. We saved you the best seat." As the wagon lumbers towards the lake, Joel finds himself subjected to an unexpected inquisition. "So, sir, if you don't mind my asking, old Jonesy here says you saw a dragon at the lake down under the mountain. That be what you saw?" "No, not a dragon. I didn't say that. What I saw was something, well, I don't know quite what to make of it, but most likely I was just seeing spots after a long day in the snow." "A beast with the skin of a dragon. Is that what you told the authorities? Isn't that right?" Well, yes, I was attempting to describe what I saw in scientific terms. It didn't appear to be anything in human form, and so I described it as a beast. And this thing had a hide, thick and shiny like the scales of a reptile." "So a monster, yeah? Hear that, boys? We're fishing for monsters today. Huzzah!" Moments later, our wagon full of fishermen reaches their destination, the trailhead at Cuscutter Brook, a stream that feeds the lake with water tumbling down from the upper watershed of Fall Mountain. Cuscutter was used by native Tunxis tribesmen as a natural marker for the pathway up the side of the cliffs and westward through the Mattatuck Trail. "So, Mr. Case, is this where you saw your monster?" "Over there, on the right, between the lake and the cliffs. You can see my sled right there where I left it." "You heard him, boys. Get ready." Then at once, Joel's new companion and his fisherman friends expose their true identities as a team of hunters with a keen intent of hunting his mysterious beast. They unwrap the leather coverings of their fishing poles to reveal something entirely different inside: rifles. "2 of you get to high ground on top of that cliff and keep watch. The rest of us will sweep under and around. Mr. Case, you best stay behind me as we move close." "You aren't fishermen, are you? What's with these rifles? What's this all about?" "The less you know, Mr. Case, the better." The hunters tactically move out to their designated positions. And now, down under the mountain, on the icy shores of Lake Compounce, the hunt for a monster begins. To be continued in the next chapter of The Choice.